Today I thought I would read my favorite chapter of my second book, Broken Time. I did this with my first book. I believe it was back in 2019, where I read my favorite chapter of the first book. I'm sorry if there's any background noise that can't really be helped. The garbage truck is coming along the neighborhood. I did try to have a better time to film this, but I don't have any better time today to film this. Without further ado, I am going to read Chapter 7 of my second book. Chapter 7, Shadows in the Woods. We prepared for the day in silence. I stretched and stifled a moan as my shoulders ached. Alice had already gone off to do her morning security sweep, and everyone else was getting ready without speaking, putting on shoes and dusting off clothes. Nothing could really be said. Our reality was too dark, and we had no idea what to do about it. When we reached a town named Noct, we tried to perform, but our hearts weren't in it. Lucy kept missing notes in the songs she was playing, and when I tried to sing along, my voice kept cracking. A man with a scraggly beard threw an apple core at me. It bounced off my shoulder and landed at my feet. I made sure to step on it when we had finished. No one put money in the violin case. Lucy sighed as she picked up the case and placed her instrument inside it. As we were leaving, a woman approached me. She was short, with black hair and blue eyes, and she was wearing a shabby gray dress with mud all along the hem. "I'm sorry for my husband's behavior," she said as she handed me one dock. In the background, the man who'd thrown the apple core was scowling at his wife's back. I thanked her and glumly turned away. Lucide put an arm around my shoulders. I was surprised, but glad for the comfort. We now had only one dock to our name. "What do you say I buy some melons and chuck them at that man's head?" I joked as we walked. That got a few smiles, but no one laughed. We crept back into the shelter of the town's surrounding woods. My mind felt cramped with panic and worry. Had everything from yesterday really happened? "We need to make a plan," said Lucide as we stopped to rest. "Are you positive the bomb will be at your father's castle?" "I can't think of anything else," Bella said. "Where do we go from here?" I asked. "We need to stay hidden." Lucide was wiping his knife. "I can't keep up our disguises forever. We should stay in the woods tonight, away from other people." Zoran nodded. It would be good to find a permanent place to stay while we came up with a plan. Lucide nodded. "I agree, but for tonight, the woods." "I have an idea." I stopped walking. Lucide glanced at me. "We need to keep moving. I think I know a way to stop the bomb." That stopped them. The only sounds were distant birds and a chilling breeze moving through the tree's naked branches. I sat down at the base of a tree, ignoring the half-inch of slush that was seeping through my pants. What if I world jumped us back to my world? Kat gave me a blank look. For what? To escape all this. World jumping would stop his plans and we'd all be safe. "Do you know if you can world jump that many people at once?" Lucide pressed. "Well, no, but have you tried?" "I've done it with Lucy," I protested, and Lucy nodded encouragingly. Lucide seemed uncertain, so I continued. "It's worth a shot. If I can get you all away, we'd be safe." I wasn't positive about my plan, and they could hear it in my voice. But we were desperate. We had limited time with no plan. "My father doesn't like loopholes," Bella said gently. Her expression was apologetic. "It's likely he would have thought of that, and the magic wouldn't be broken between the worlds." My heart sank, and to my extreme embarrassment, I felt frustrated tears burn my eyes. Zoran let go of Bella's hand and walked over to me, nothing but kindness in his expression. He put an arm around me as he helped me to my feet. "We'll keep it in our back pockets," he whispered. "But the last thing we want is for people getting hurt." If I don't try it, we could end up dead, I thought bitterly, but said nothing. With all the arguing, none of us had noticed Alice slip between the trees for a quick security check. "Guys, heads up," came her soft voice from the shadows. I froze, slipping slightly in the snow. Lucide snapped his fingers, and all of our hair and eye colors changed instantly. Then I saw the woman behind Alice come into view. Alice emerged with the woman trailing behind her. The woman had light brown skin and curly black hair. She had a crossbow strapped to her back and wore hiking boots. "Who are you?" Lucide came to the front, the group's voice and protector. "I could ask the same of you," the woman spat. "We're just passing through," Lucide explained, putting his hands up in a passive gesture. His hair color had become brown, and his eyes were a soft gray. "I'm Luke." "Right, fake names. I would have a dozen before this was over." "Natalie," the woman replied, not unkindly. "Has there been any trouble?" Bella asked, nodding to the crossbow. "I'm hunting," Natalie explained. "Alone?" Zoran inquired from his place at my side. I needed to clear my head. I'm taking care of a group, too. "You're the leader?" Natalie shrugged. "You could say that." If there were other nomadic groups like ours, why hadn't we come across some before? Natalie scrutinized us. "Do you have a place to stay tonight? We have room around our fire." Surprised, Lucide glanced at us. "That's 8 more mouths to feed. My group is just over 20 people. 8 more isn't that many. Besides, we could use the extra hunters." Lucide took a deep breath, then nodded. "Thank you." As we approached the camp, we heard conversation. When we entered the clearing, dozens of people of all shapes, colors, and sizes were milling around. In a game of tag, a few children chased each other around a large campfire. Individual tents were set up sporadically, giving the space a nice, comforting atmosphere. Meat and fish were being cooked, and my mouth watered. "Make yourself at home," said Natalie. "I'll have a few tents set up for you." I tried not to stare as we walked around the camp. A lot of people were in their tents, and soft light from the lanterns cast silhouettes on the tarp. We passed a young black woman sitting on a stool outside her tent, a small card table set up in front of her. She looked to be in her 30s and had long black hair. The fire was dancing in her friendly brown eyes. "Do you want your fortune read?" she asked sweetly as we passed. Bella glanced at Lucide. "Does it cost anything?" he asked the woman. 3 nil, replied the woman. Lucide nodded at Bella, and she sat on the little stool across from the woman. "I can't think of a better time," she admitted. "Give me your palm," the woman said. "My name is Fiona." "Alex," Bella said, and she stretched out her hand. Fiona stared intently at Bella's palm, her pointer finger gently gliding over Bella's skin. Then she froze. "What is it?" Bella asked. "You have a lot of danger in your future, but also a lot of happiness. Happiness that belongs to you." She looked up at her, smiling. "I didn't know it was you, Your Highness." Bella's shoulders tensed. "How did you know it was me?" Fiona's eyes sparkled with more than just firelight. "There's a lot to see in a palm." Bella lowered her voice. "Will I defeat the Drainer?" "I thought he might still be alive," said Fiona grimly. Her face looked drawn. I can't see that specifically, but if you want my opinion as a woman and not as a fortune teller, I think you will. Can you tell me anything else?" Fiona studied Bella's hand for a moment. "A woman with blonde hair and brown eyes is essential to your survival. Do you know her name?" "No, I'm sorry." "Thank you." As Fiona let go of her hand, Bella tried to hand Fiona 3 nil. Fiona shook her head. "Only 1 nil. But we owe you—" "Call it the royal discount," Fiona said, and winked. "Thank you," Bella said, handing her the money. "Could you not tell anyone who I am? I'm not sure how well received I'd be." "You have my word." Natalie approached us with a warm smile. "I'm sorry, Fiona, I'm going to have to steal these folks. Your tents are ready." We followed her to the other side of the camp, Lucide giving fake names as we went. My name was Molly. I'd have to remember that while we were here. As we walked, Natalie explained the group's main goal was to get to the coast. They wanted to build a little community and live off the land and fish from the ocean. "All we want is to leave memories of that awful castle behind us," she sighed, looking sad for the first time. "I know how you feel," Bella said. It struck me how true her statement was, and how, if we failed, everything would come crashing down. "Here we are," Natalie said, gesturing to 2 tents. They looked sturdy and homely. "Will any of you join us for tonight's hunt?" "Definitely," Lucide said. Natalie nodded and walked off as we ducked into the first tent. The inside was cramped for all 8 of us, but warm. With a sigh of exhaustion, Lucide let up our disguises and rubbed his hands. "What were you thinking when you said yes to Natalie's invitation?" Zoran asked Lucide. His tone wasn't accusatory, just curious and exhausted. "That it might give us some time to reset and come up with a proper plan." He rubbed his face. I hated to see him this tired and stressed. "Meeting Fiona was something," I said. "Do you think she gave us something we could use?" "We should find the woman she described," Kat said. "That isn't much to go on," I snapped. "It's the only clue we have," Bella said. "I think we need to lean on it." "I think we should still try my plan," I muttered. "A million things could go wrong with your plan," Kat pointed out. "I wasn't asking you," I snarled, and Lucy put her hand on my shoulder. Her expression asked me to be kinder, but I couldn't help it where Kat was concerned. But Kat ignored me and turned her gaze on Lucide. "Kat is right," Lucide amended. "We'll use your plan if it comes down to the wire, but right now we need to focus on the problem instead of ignoring it." I gritted my teeth, but stayed silent. Bella was shaking her head. "If it comes down to the wire, I'll turn myself in. That's the only thing that would make the drainer stop the bomb." There was a tense, shocked silence. "I won't let you do that," Lucide said, his voice ringing with authority. Bella straightened her back and looked at her friend, matching his tone. "With all due respect, Lucide, that's not something I need your permission to do." An hour later, the hunting party gathered. Lucide, Zoran, and Alice decided to go. Lucide had instructed the rest of us to stay out of our tents. As newcomers, we needed to be friendly and approachable to our hosts. An hour later, the hunting party gathered. Lucide, Zoran, and Alice decided to go. Lucide instructed the rest of us to stay out of our tents. As newcomers, we needed to be friendly and approachable to our hosts. I did as he said, helping tend to the fire and playing tag with a few of the small children. They ran and screamed with such carefree laughter, it broke my heart. When I was tired of chasing children, I sat by the fire next to Ginkgo, unsure of what to say. I had a million questions, but I was unsure what lines I might be crossing. Eventually, I asked, "Why didn't you want to go hunting with them?" Ginkgo glanced around us before answering. "Because of this." He showed me his palm. A small cut was leaking black blood, and black blood could only mean one thing. I managed not to gasp. "That means you have demon heritage." "Yeah," he murmured. His lips were barely moving. "Or vampire," I interjected. He shook his head. "Vampires can't have children. I try to stay away from anything sharp when we're around new people." I nodded, studying the ground instead of his hand. "Your parents?" "My parents were human," he insisted, but he sounded uneasy. I decided to change the subject. We watched the children, their faces swimming in the haze of the fire. "Why have we never come across other nomadic groups?" "Looking out for the drainer's spies isn't the only thing Alice watches out for in the mornings." "Oh." Silence fell between us, and moments later the hunting party broke through the trees, a few of them carrying dead gray rabbits. I plastered a smile on my face and went to greet them. We needed to be normal, so I'd be as normal as it took to get through the night. I woke up to shouting. Even half asleep and my hair a mess, I ran out of the tent I shared with Alice, Lucy, and Bella. Something was wrong. Bella was standing outside the tent, her eyes wild with panic. Camp members were shouting at her, screaming curses. Then I realized what was wrong. She wasn't wearing a disguise. She'd left the tent in an early morning stupor, and as she'd predicted, they were not welcoming. "What the hell are you doing here?" a man with yellow teeth and angry blue eyes yelled. "You lied to us, you bitch!" They were slowly boxing her in, creeping closer and closer as they shouted. I looked around for Natalie and found her standing outside her tent, arms crossed as she scowled at Bella. "I wasn't trying. We were just... I didn't ask for him to be my father, Bella shouted, her voice breaking with emotion. I ran up to her, tugging gently at her sleeve. Come on, Bells. Get out of here, someone shouted. Go cause trouble somewhere else. We're going, I snapped as I steered Bella to the tent. Bitch, someone muttered. I gave the crowd the finger as I opened the tent flap. I'm so sorry, Lucide, said Bella, flustered. He was picking things up and stuffing them into the backpack. Don't worry about it, he said briskly. Just get everything ready. I'm sorry, she said again, sounding close to tears. Soren put his arm around her. Get your shoes on, he said. We need to leave quickly. When we emerged from the tent, everyone was staring at us. They grumbled and scowled as we passed. I kept my head down, not making eye contact with anyone. If I tried to argue now, it would only make things worse. I could feel judgmental eyes on us as we reached the camp's outer edge. Wait, someone called behind us. I turned and saw Fiona running after us, holding a small sack. Take this, please, she said, putting it in Bella's hands. What is this? Bella asked. A few things to help you along the way. I'm sorry about my group. A lot of them are scared. Fear can change people, Bella nodded. I don't blame you, Fiona. Thank you for the reading. Good luck to you, she said, and we parted. I'm so sorry, Bella said to Lucide again. I just woke up and walked out of the tent. I wasn't thinking, and before I realized it, it was too late. What's done is done, Lucide said. What did Fiona give us? Bella opened the pack. A loaf of bread, cheese, and 2 dock. This must have been all she had. She must want to help us as much as she can, Soren said. She just bought us dinner. Bella sighed and returned everything to the backpack. I squinted at the sun, which had barely begun to rise. Another day had slipped through our fingers, but thanks to Fiona, we now had an objective, and even though I hated to think of it, a backup plan. So that was the 7th chapter of my 2nd book, and it's my favorite chapter out of the whole book. I really had to write it and rewrite it and add details throughout the time that I was writing this manuscript, and I'm really, really proud of that chapter. It is right as the plot is kind of getting kicked into motion. So if you read the book and want to listen to me read this to you as you read the 7th chapter, then feel free to play this video when you read the book. So I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you in my next video.